Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Taanit daf Chav Zayin. We are going to begin on the top of Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the top by the 2 dots. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah that Elohein Mamadais Lafi Shenemer Tzavis Bnei Yisrael V'chulu. So my Kamer, what exactly was the Mishnah saying? Hakakamer. Elohein Mamadais. These are the mamados that would gather together. Umatam tiknu mamados. And what is the reason why they were instituted to begin with? That when it comes to the communal carbon Taanit that was brought in the morning, Taanit shel Shachar, in the afternoon, Taanit shel Ben Arboim, so the pasuk says that a person is supposed to be mekayim the mitzvah of the bringing of the carbon Taanit. But the question is, v'heich karbano shel adam karav v'hu einu oimid al gabav. How is it shaykh that you're able to have a carbon brought and you're not even there to represent it? Therefore, hiskinu neviim harishainim esrim ve'arba mishmaros. Therefore, they instituted 24 mishmaros. Al kol mishmar hayim maimid b'Yerushalayim shel kohanim v'shel avim v'shel Yisraelim. So we know that every 24 weeks, it was a 24-week rotation that Kohanim would serve. They would have a mishmor, then it was broken up even further by an 8 base av for that particular day. And there were mamados, including Yisraelim, who would represent that particular mishmor. Hegiyazman mishmor lalos Kohanim levim oil mirshalayim. So when it came to that particular mishmor to go up, the Kohanim Levim would go to Yerushalayim. Tanabanan. Esrim v'arba mishmaros be'eretz Yisrael. There was 24 in Eretz Yisrael. Ushtem esrim b'Yericho. And then there were 12 in Yericho. Shtem esrim b'Yericho. So it says there's 12 in Yericho. Nefishin l'hutuva. That seems to be a lot. El shtem esrim mehen b'Yericho means out of the 24, 12 of them were stationed in Yericho. Hagizman hamishmor lalois. When it came time for the mishmor to go up to Yerushalayim, so chatzei mishmor haya oila meretz Yisrael Yerushalayim. Half them went to Yerushalayim. Chatzei mishmor haya oila miYericho, or it says on the side li Yericho. Half them would go to Yericho. Kadei shiasku mayim muslim lachim shev Yerushalayim, in order to be able to provide sustenance and provisions for those brethren in Yerushalayim. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel Kohanim Levim Yisrael Ma'akvin es a carbon. It says that they are ma'akiv the carbon. What does that mean? They hold back the carbon. Says Rashi, Im ein maimid mikulan b'Yerushalayim. If we do not have a maimid for all of them in Yerushalayim, as it said previously, al kol mishmor hayim maimid b'Yerushalayim shel kohanim levim Yisraelim. Now kivad dekuhu balim be'inon. We need to actually have ownership over there. The lahami kamohu al gabi avoida. And therefore, it was necessary that you needed to have the Anshi Maimid, and it would be Ma'akiv, the actual Karbanos. But Masnisa Tan Rav Shimon ben Elazar says, Rav Shimon ben Elazar, Kohanim Levim ukli shir Ma'akvin as a carbon. They would say that the kli shir, the musical instruments, held back. And this is a Gemara in the beginning of the 5th parak of Masechta Sukkah, exactly. What is the Iker? Is Iker Shira of the Levim? Is it Bepeh with their singing with their voices, or is it Bekli with their musical instruments? So that's what the Gemara says here again. That it says Mar Savar Iker Shira Bepeh, Mar Savar Iker Shira Bekli. So therefore, if you hold Iker Shira as Bepeh, then you're going to say that the musical instruments, says Rashi, v'kivan de'ikol levim lo ma'akiv mishum klishir. Then the instruments are not going to be ma'akiv. Amarav Chalma Bar Guri Amarav Moshe tikna hem Yisrael shmoyne mishmaros. So Moshe originally instituted 8 mishmaros. Arba, 4 of them were me'elazar, v'dal me'itamar. Because of course none of you died, so there was less left Elazar and Tamar as the Kohanim, so therefore he split up 4 and 4. Ba Shmuel came later on, in the time of Mishkan Shiloh, and Behamidan al Sheish Esrin. He doubled it from 8 to 16. But David came after him, the Midan al Esrin Be'arba. So it was 8, 16, and 24 respectively. This is question 5 as well as TB 17. Kalme Mishmaras Kahuna Tikin Moshe B'tchila. So according to this, it was 8. Shenemar B'shnas Harbayim, in the 40th year, Malchus David, Nid Rashu B'yimatze Behem Gibor Chayil, he found men of valor, B'yazer Gilad. So Meisver for the Gemara, Moshe Tikin Lahem Yisrael Shmoin Mishmaros, he instituted 8. Arba Milazar Arba Mitamar, which is exactly what we just said. But David and Shmuel collectively came, it says here, V'midin al Esr Barba. Not that it was 8 and then another 8 by Shmuel and then finally the next 8 by David. No, David and Shmuel together did an extra 20 to make it 24. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Hema Yitzar David Shmuel Haroya be'emunasam. So the question is, how could we say it was 8, 16, 24? We see that they did it apparently together. So Hachi Kamer Misaydi Shel David Ushmuel Haramasi Ha'emidum al Esrim Arba. In other words, no, they really separately did an extra 8 and an extra 8 respectively. But it's just saying together they equaled total 24. Tiny Idach. Moshe taken Ham Yisrael Sheish Mishmaros. So not that Moshe instituted 8 Mishmaros, but rather 16. Shmona Mi'elazar, Shmona Mi'tamar. 8 and was 8 and 8. Shrabu B'nei Elazar al B'nei Itamar. And Elazar's tribe, his group, became larger than the Itamars. Chilkum, he divided it, the Midum al Esrim Barba, and he ended up making it to 24. Shnamri Matsu B'nei Elazar Rabim Marashi Hagavorim, that Elazar became greater, Min B'nei Tamar. Therefore, V'yichalkum B'nei Elazar Rashim L'beis Avos. Shisha Asar 16. B'nei Tamar L'beis Avosim Shmoina. So we see that it went from an 8 and 8 split until it became 16 and 8. Furthermore, the pasuk says, Beis Av Echad Ochluz L'Elazar Ochluz Tamar. So my V'omer, it sounds like it's double, implying that there was a double amount that was given over to Bnei Elazar because there were more people. So why does it have another pasuk? Seemingly, we can learn the same thing from both. So my V'omer B'chitema Kehechin and Nefishi Bnei Elazar Hachanam Nefishi Bnei Itamar. Maybe just as they grew bigger, they also grew bigger. Shmoina Mikara Arba Havi. 8 from the beginning. So Shmoina Mikara Arba Havi was 4. Tashma Beis Av Echad Ochluz L'Elazar Ochluz L'Itamar. Tiyufta Rab Chama Bar Guria. So Chara, it's a tiyufta on him because we see Beferish, not like his shita. So Amulach Rav Chama Bar Guri, he'll say, no Tanai he be under the army ki hani tani the army shmeina. So even though it's possible that it sounds like Moshe actually did not do 8, he's of the opinion of Machlokas Tanaim that there was actually 8. So therefore it's not necessarily a complete refutation. So question 5, again, Kama Mishmaras Kahuna Tikkun Moshe B'tchila. So either 8 or possibly B'tchila 16. TB 17. Similar question, but it's a little bit more complex. I didn't get this completely correct. Mi Tikkun Yisrael es Arbaim B'Arba Mishmaros. Who did the 24? So the way that he writes it is like this: Moshe was Masakin 8, and then Shmuel did 16. And some say actually Moshe was Masakin 16, then David instituted the 24. Okay. So again, there are different ways of reading that piece of Gemara. Let's continue now with the next piece of Gemara. Fine. So that had to do again specifically with the Mishmaros. All right. Weiter. So again, we said it was not necessarily a tiyufta on him because it would just be a machlokas tanaim. Tanabanan. Arba mishmaros olu min goyel. There was 4 mishmaros that came up from goyel. Says the bottom Rashi. Bebayas sheni in the second base of Mikdash. Sharlu olu. Not everyone came up. Shaharbi Yisrael nishtayru v'loratzu lalois. Not everyone wanted to ascend. Ve'eluhein. These are the people that came up in the time of the second base of Mikdash. Yodaya chorim pashchor. ve'imer. So Amdu Nevi'im Shibenehem. So the Nevi'im that were in those days, as we continue to Chav Zayin Mebez, they went in the Chilkum and they divided up to 24 differently. The Hamidum al Esrim v'Arba Bowl, and they took the 24 and they mixed it up. The Nasanum Bikalpe, and they put it into like a basket. And Boya Yadav and Nata Chelkai, so he took his portion. The Chel Chaver of Sheish, and the Chelik of his friends 6. Balcharim and Nata Chelkai, the Chel Chaver of Sheish, he also took 6. The Chen Pashchor, the Chen Imer, the Chen Hitnu Nevi'im Shebinehem Shafilu Yayarav, Rosh Mishmeres Oila, Lo Yadacha Yadayim Imkaimai El Yadaya Iker, and the Yairav Tafilo. So again, they were rewarded for going up in the second base of Mikdash, even though not everyone did, and therefore they were given these extra slots. Yisrael Sheba Oisa Mishmar Miskansin Be'arehim Be'karin B'maaseh Bereishis. As we said, they read from Bereishis. So Min Hanimili, why that? So Amar Rav Yaakov Bar Acha, Amar Rav Asil Moli Mamadais. If it wasn't for these Mamadais that came, and with their coming, they were able to have the karbanos brought, and everyone was yaitse, fulfilled this mitzvah. If it wasn't for them, the heavens would not exist. Because Avram asked Hashem, how do I know that they will inherit this? Before we continue, let's look at this Rashi. Iske karbanos sheYisrael oisinhein hayu kolim bechetan. So again, the reason why the world endures is dafka because the mamadais that they were there, which in turn karbanos were able to be brought. As we find again, Avram turned to Hashem by the bris bein Mesarim, and he wanted to know, how do I know that everything is going to be okay with my children? Amar Avraham Rabbi Shalom. Maybe Avram Rabbanu Shalom Shema Yisrael Chaytim Lefanech. What if they sin? So Ata Oisalahem Kedor Hamal Kedor Aflaga. You may destroy them again. So Amalei Lavo Aimer Lafana Rabbanu Shalom Todiani B'Mayri Shena. Let me know how I'll inherit it. Amalei Kachali Egel Mishulashes. Take this calf. The Eiz Mishulashes, and take this goat. The Gaimer, and he had to split them. The birds a little batar. He did not split. So that's why it's called the bris bein Mesarim, the covenant between the halves. Amar Rabbanu Shalom, Amar Fana Rabbanu Shalom. Teinach Mizman Shebeis Mikdash Kayim. So basically, what Hashem was saying is, bring karbanos, and that's how everything will be okay. So he said, okay, that's if when the Beis Mikdash is around. Mizman Shebeis Mikdash Kayim. However, Mizman Shein Beis Mikdash Kayim Matelehem. How are they going to achieve kapara? I've already established lahem seder karbanos. Bizman shekarin behen lafanai. When they read them, malani aleihim kilu hikrivum. It'll be as though they actually brought the sacrifices lafanai. Dani moichel lahem al kol avneisehem, which is a tremendous thing. Even though we don't actually bring the karbanos, but by reading them and internalizing that same idea, bringing those karbanos, so Hashem will forgive us as well. Which again, of course, is the reason why at the beginning of Shachas we have karbanos. There is a tremendous inyan of saying karbanos, because the whole notion is without the Beis HaMikdash, at least we do have the words that we could say. Tanabanim, Anshe Mishmar Hayim Espalin al Carbon Achehem. The Anshe Mishmar, they would daven for the sake of their brethren. Shiskabel Baratzain, that they should be accepted willingly. The Anshi Maimon Miss Kansin Lebeis Achnasis, they would go to the shuls. The Yoshvin Dal Tiny Ice, and they fasted for 4 days. B'Sheni B'Shabbos B'Shlishi Revi B'Chamishi, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. B'Sheni Al Yardei Hayam, for those people who are traveling in the sea. B'Shlishi Al Hoychim Midbaros, those people who are in the desert. We want to make sure that they're okay. But why on these days bedafka, the second, the third? So look at Rashi. The second, says Rashi, by the sea, because it says Yihi Rekia B'Tach HaMayim. So we mentioned about the waters, because that was on the second day. The third day has to do with dry land, because Hashem separated the dry land, made dry land, and therefore it has to do with a midbar, which is dry land. Rabbi al askara shalotipol al tinaikis, that little children should not be cursed with this terrible punishment of askara, like strangulation. So why on a Wednesday askara? So Rashi says, because Shabo Nitlu HaMa'odos, that's the day in which all the luminaries, the stars were created, and it says over there, Ma'oros Ksiv. So Ma'oros could almost be read as a curse. B'chamishi al Ubarois Umanikois. When it comes to on Thursday, davening on the behalf of pregnant women and nursing women, Ubarois Shaliapilu. They shouldn't have miscarriages. Menikos, shionik es benehem, that they should be able to be successful in nursing their children. Why? On that day, because it says, the chsiv bey, yishritzu hamayim sheretz nefesh chaya. Chaya is alluded to a woman who is either a woman carrying a baby or one who is taking care of the process of the delivery of a baby. However, Erev Shabbos l'hoyim sanin. They wouldn't fast on Friday. Then they come to Shabbos. Kal v'chayim b'Shabbos atzmos. Certainly wouldn't fast on Shabbos. Now, be'echad b'Shabbos my time alo. It also says they wouldn't fast on Sunday. They would show no. They would do nothing special on Sunday. And this is question 6. The Gemara gives 3 answers. What is because of the noitzrim? Says Rashi, it was their yomtiv, and therefore to show that we in no way acknowledge that day as a special day, so therefore we don't fast on that day. Shmuel bar Nachmani shlishi liyitzira. It's the 3rd day from creation. What does that mean? Because Hashem created Adam on day 6. So therefore, you have day 6, 7, and then day 8, which is day 1. So what's the whole notion? Why can't you fast then? Because we know Adam nivra b'yom rishon, says Rashi. V'chol yom shlishi habicholosh. It's the 3rd day from a surgery that a person is most weak, as it says b'yom shlishi b'yosim koavim. Regarding the people in the city of Shechem, the Anshe Shechem, so when they did the ritual circumcision, the bris milah, was the 3rd day was the most painful, and that's of course when Shimon and Levi came and attacked them. So therefore, because that's like the weakest day, so therefore a person should not fast, which is interesting. Mizmanenu, maybe not in Israel, but you go to the United States, Sunday's a relaxing day. So maybe there's an Indian behind that on Sunday, because it's Yom Shlishi Liyitzira, so therefore it's again like the day. There's some Indian of Sunday being just a relaxing day, and therefore one shouldn't fast. Reish Lakish Oimim Nei Neshama Yisera. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Shenoit L'Noisim Imenu V'Havi Cholosh. Because when Shabbos ends, a person's neshama is taken away from them. Rashi says, what is in the neshama Yisera? Does it really mean another soul? It means Shemarchiven Daitu Lachil Shtia. A person is able to have a different mindset to be able to eat and drink on Shabbos. And therefore, because you've done all this eating and drinking, and all of a sudden for you to reverse it on Sunday to do nothing is difficult. Because when Shabbos has gone, so woe that your nefesh is gone. And therefore, that's a 3rd reason why we do not fast on Sunday, because again, a person has this taken out of them, and therefore, for that reason, we don't fast on Sunday typically. B'yom Rishon Bereishis Vayirikia. So we said that we have to have 2 paragraphs, because 1 paragraph is not at least the 10 psukim requisite to be able to call up 3 aliyahs. So therefore we do 2 paragraphs. for the Mishmaros. So Tana Bereshis Mishnayim. Two people read Bereshis, and Yirikia be'echa. Now Bishlam Yirikia be'echa tlas psuki havi. That's 3 psukim. El Bereshis Mishnayim my taima. How could it possibly you call up 2 people? After all, hey psuki haven. There's only 5 psukim there. To not occur b'tar yichlas megimah psukim. You have to have at least 3. So if you have 5, you can't divide 5. Divide that 5 into 2 parts. It becomes 2 and 3. It has to have at least 3. So there's a machlokas Rabbi Shmuel Paisik. Either what you do is like we do on Rosh Chodesh, we say the 3rd pasuk, and then the next aliyah we start with that 3rd pasuk. So we do like 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 4, 5. Or Paisik, we just divide in half. So that's or what we do is we do 2.5. We do 2.5, split the pasuk in half. V'rav the armor doyling my time alone or paisik. Savarkol sukadum haski Moshe anonos haskinan lay. Any pasuk that was not divided up, we are not allowed to divide up either. Shmuel armor paisik. Why? Umi paskinan. Do we actually do that? V'yomer Rav Chanina karat sar gadol hayali etzel Rav Chanina gadol v'hituli lives like el tinaka shel beis rabbin. The only time we allow a pasuk to be divided up is for little school children. Because they're trying to learn. To have them read an entire pasuk may be very, very difficult for a little kid, and therefore we allow them to read even part of the pasuk because it's for educational purposes. But apparently it shouldn't be done for any other reason. Certainly not for this. Whereas it's not necessarily. Shmuel hasam taimamai mishum delay asher hachanam delay asher. The reason why is because it's impossible for a kid to read a whole pasuk. So too it's impossible because we have no other choice. We only have 5 psukim, and therefore we allow you to do it in this fashion. Fine. Shmuel Omer Paisek my time Omer Doileg. So why don't you just do this 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5 thing? Mishum ha'nichnasun gezer mishum ha'yotzin. The problem is people are coming, people are leaving. So if you saw this 5 psukim, and let's say you saw do the first 3 psukim, and then you left, you think, oh yeah, it must be that the next aliyah is only going to be 2 psukim. Or the person who comes in and he sees that you're starting a pasuk gimel, it's like, well, it must be that the first guy only did 2 psukim. Meisvei parsha shel shisha psukim. If there's 6, then obviously karnoisa b'shtayim. You do 3 and 3, so it's 2 aliyahs. The shel chamisha b'yochid. If there's 5 psukim, then 1 person. Now ima rishon kari gimel. If the first person reads 3, hasheni kari shnayim miparsha zu. Maybe he could read 2 from this parsha, the echem parsha cheres, then you can just read just the first pasuk in the next paragraph. We don't do that either. V'yeshamer gimel. Actually, the next paragraph also you have to at least read 3. V'yeshein maschilin b'parsha pachas mishloish psukim. We don't begin less than 3 psukim. L'mandiar medoyel glidlik. L'mandiar merpaisik livsoik. So how come we have all this eitzah? We say, oh yeah, what you should do is you should continue and just read a little bit into the next pasuk, into the next paragraph, rather 1 or 3 psukim. Why don't we say lidloig or lislik? Now Shani Hasim, he says no, it's different over there as we continue to Chav Chesem and Aleph, the Isle Ravcha, because you have more space. There's more, says Rashi. Shiach Likros Meparsha Cheres. There's more to read. So if there's more to read, there's no reason to have to cut it or to do 2.5 or to do this skipping. So therefore, you can just continue into the next paragraph. Let's say you have 10 paragraphs, so there's no reason to have to do this heter. It's only when there's no other option. Okay, we'll stop here. Let's look at a couple of other questions first. Fine. Question 6. Fine, we did that. Let's see. Question TA 15. Ma hetiru lahafsik b'tayr be'emsa pasuk. So either l'slamed, in order for Tinaka Shel Beis Rabin to be able to learn, or we'll do it when it comes to the Mamadais in Parshas Bereshis, because there's only 5 psukim, a liba the shita of Shmuel. Adkan.